Welcome to the 2013 USA Ultimate College Championships presented by USA Ultimate. We come to you today from Madison, Wisconsin, where second-seeded Carleton College takes on number one seed in the women's division in Oregon. Preparations are underway here at Mansfield Stadium to get optimal playing conditions for this championship match. A little windy, a little rainy over the last few days, but that won't stop these two teams in pursuit of a title. Oregon got here with a win over Iowa's Saucy Nancy, both teams with 15-11 final scores in their semis, and Carleton rolled past Ohio State. So we have a 1 versus a 2 matchup here in this championship. Mike Cousins, glad to have you along with former captain of Wake Forest Ultimate, Evan Lepler. So 15-11 scores yesterday for both of these teams. However, they got here in very different ways.
Yeah, Carleton, a team very methodical. They can play the deep game. They can play in transition, but they want to be safe and work it up the field. Oregon, much like Chip Kelly's old Oregon Ducks football offense, they want to create turnovers and feed off their defense to score quickly in the transition game for Fugue.
Looking at our top players, we start with Syzygy on the Carleton side and Flannery McCardle, who scored 8 of their 15 goals in the semis.
Well, Reed and Snyder are the top two Carleton handlers, but McCardle was the dominating factor in yesterday's win over Ohio State. She was so good in the air, in the flow of the offense. Fantastic on both sides of the disc, able to go for the dump, finish the game for the score, sending Carleton back to the title game 1 year after they didn't even make nationals. And for Oregon, their offense is guided by number 10, Sophie Darch, a junior from the Padilla School in Atlanta. She is the motor to this Fugue offense, looking to get the disc to her in transition. She's got one of the best hammers in the women's game. She has great fakes, a strong backhand, break, and Oregon has been one of the top teams all season long. They're considered the favorite heading into the finals.
The USA Ultimate College Championships are presented by US Sports Camps, the operators of Nike Sports Camps, who are now offering youth Nike Ultimate Camps across the country this summer.
Ultimate's growing very quickly. We've been focusing on youth programs for the last 5 to 10 years now, and pushing it down into high schools. It's been a college-heavy sport for a long time. Kids learn how to play in college, but we've really been pushing coaching and getting kids to play in high school, and then pushing it down further to middle school. Doing a lot of outreach in PE classes, educating PE teachers about how to teach the sport, and those kids come out of those classes loving it, looking for opportunities to play, and that's what we're trying to provide.
And the growth of this game has been evident here this weekend in Madison with the great crowds that have been on hand. Starting lineup for Carleton under head coach Megan Molteni, Grace Quintana, Flannery McCardle, Marlena Hartman-Filson, and Brianna Rick, their cutters. Anna Reed, Julia Snyder, two of their very important handlers, along with Taylor One.
Yeah, both of these teams have depth. Anna Reed, Julia Snyder, they're the two captains. They've been playing together since the 6th grade.
On the other side, for Fugue, Oregon, head coach Lou Burris, Alex Odie, Bethany Kaler, Morgan Zajan, and Lily Hurt are their 4 cutters. Kimber Coles, Ashley Young, and Sophie Darch, who's the player to watch for, round out the handling line.
This is the offensive line. On the defensive side of this, Bailey Zaneyes, their Callahan nominee. She's one to watch as well, but both Kaler and Zajan can go up for the disc in the end zone. Alex Odie, too.
Here's Megan Molteni, who said yesterday taking half was very important. Coming out in the second half, picking up some momentum for Carleton was really big for them.
And one of the cool dynamics of this game, Mike, both of these teams are coached by Carleton alums. Lou Burris first played Ultimate Frisbee in the fall of 1990 when he was a freshman at Carleton College. He's from Virginia, played 5 years of Ultimate at Carleton, became one of the mainstays on the Sockeye Club team in Seattle. He has Fugue 1 game away from their second title in 4 years.
Well, for Memorial Day weekend, it's been a little bit chilly here in Madison. Yesterday, we got up to about 65 in our 4 semifinals. So 9 degrees cooler than that, but the winds have remained constant, 16 miles an hour, and a little bit of rain over the last couple of days as well. Things you should know watching Ultimate if it's your first time watching the game. First team to 15 wins. First to 8 brings us to halftime. But perhaps what makes Ultimate more unique than any other sport is the way that it's officiated.
Most important thing about Ultimate is spirit of the game. It's an ethos that carries over everything about this great sport. Another year of great championship competition. This time in Madison. It was last held here back in 2010 when Oregon Fugue won it all. That's Anna Reed, the senior captain for Syzygy. These two teams are familiar with each other. They only met once this season. Oregon won. Reed and Snyder were out of that game. Reed had food poisoning. Snyder was sick as well. So a brand new matchup today. But these teams very familiar with each other because many of the top players on both squads have been teammates for the national team.
Fugue takes the opening pull, again in pursuit of their second title in the last 4 years. Carleton looking for its first title since 2000.
The first fortunate break of the game goes for Oregon. A dish that was tipped found the hand of a green jersey. This
Darch
is
at the brick mark.
And this is Darch. She's really got all the throws. Trying to lay out. The disc was down.
That falls short. Fugue turns it over as Lily Hurd, the senior, couldn't hang on.
Reed picking up the disc, and her first throw was to McCardle.
Near sideline, Quintana. She was ready to go right from the beginning. She was on the goal line dancing, laughing. These players are excited. Even though it's a big competition, they're still very loose.
Both teams reminding themselves before the games, they play this game because they love it. And why do they love it? Because it's fun. Deep down, that's what's fueling both of these teams, along with the desire to be the best.
Here's Fugue moving quickly downfield. Kimber Coles goes over the middle, finds Ashley Young. First tuck toward the end zone. Fugue looking to get on the board first, and they do. Oregon in front, 1-0. Going downfield and finding who else? Sophie Darch. Oh, that was Bethany Kaler for the score, but 1-0 Oregon.
Bethany Kaler, one of the sophomores on this team that started as a freshman. Last year, Fugue had 3 freshmen in the starting lineup, 3 girls who played in high school, and Bethany Kaler, Alex Odie, and also Jessie Schaffner. Darch with the put, Kaler with the catch, and Fugue holds serves with the O-line to take the first point of the game. Oregon head coach Lou Burris has stressed how important it is to recruit players and to get players who did compete competitively in high school. And having experienced talent has allowed Oregon to become one of the powers. Belladonna of Wisconsin was the number 2 seed in the Pool A coming in, and Oregon just cut through them like a hot knife through butter. The quarterfinal matchup against British Columbia, UBC beat Oregon in the regular season. That's Oregon's only loss, and as you can see, it wasn't even close in the quarters.
Carleton ready to receive off the pull. And then what we'll see from Carleton offensively as they get ready to take the disc here is a very patient and a very balanced attack.
Bailey Zahnizer, Oregon's Callahan nominee, with the pull. UNC Wilmington's Claire Chastain, the first Callahan winner not to advance to nationals with her team in a very long time. This is a little Oregon-style offense from Carleton. The deep shot for Hartman Filson.
Now the defense does catch up, though, for Fugue after the long huck. Want going to the far side. Deed up. Still pulled in by Snyder. And they get it in for the score. We're tied at 1. Flannery McCardle locks it up.
A tremendous layout D from Bethany Kaler, proving that she's a two-way player. She had the first score. She has a tremendous layout D. Look at that, getting horizontal. But the disc popped up, able to sustain possession. Snyder to McCardle to even things at 1.
She's forced home on the throw as Snyder pulls it in. McCardle, despite being such a big target at 6 feet tall, so many times just finds herself open with good positioning.
It's a nice recovery, too, by the Oregon defense. Zahnizer did get the mark on Snyder quickly, which is important, but McCardle wide open in the end zone. You know, each of these teams have a few players that you would consider unguardable. And they're guys that you can't particularly stop. You're just trying to contain them. It sounds cliche, but you know, what could Oregon do against Flannery McCardle? Yeah, if she was the only player with talent, they might be able to double team her down the field and help out. But Carleton is a team with such depth and such widespread talent that you can't focus on one player. Otherwise, you'll get burned anyway.
Carleton's pull coming from Barton. And it's down for Oregon, just in front of the brick mark. Kaler, deep huck, goal line, jump disc, and it's down, and it's back to Carleton.
Both teams, Mike, have started this game in man-to-man defense. Both teams like to run zones, different styles of zone D. A chance there for Syzygy to bring it down. Carleton again looking to huck.
It's Quintana for Carleton, two-handed pull. She pulls it in.
Sophie Darch misread it ever so slightly. Nice patience from Snyder. Red zone offense, so important, capitalizing in your chances near the goal line. Not in there, but Snyder connects for Carleton again.
Easy job to dump it in there right on the goal line, and it's Laura Carson, the senior.
I love Laura Carson's hairdo. Talk about commitment to the team. The Syzygy logo weaved in that buzz cut. That's devotion and commitment. And Carleton with a huge break, the first of the game.
How important was it there for Snyder to get her footwork down? She stops herself. The mark was coming, and if she doesn't throw it right there, that might change that situation.
It's vitally important when you get the disc not to rush. And footwork, just like if you're shooting a basketball or throwing a football or you're a pitcher, your mechanics and your balance are imperative. Yeah, you can make an off-balance shot, you can make an off-balance throw, but you're much more confident if you're on balance and taking your time. Carleton College has not lost in this national tournament, taking down the defending champion Washington in the quarters. A tight game with Ohio State's Fever, but Carleton in control in the second half to advance into the championship game this year. Now Carleton is in Northfield, Minnesota, very small school. Deep shot for Oregon, but too far. The Syzygy have only been practicing outside now for about 3 or 4 weeks. They play indoors in a turf dome once a week. They play in a field house on sort of a tennis court-like surface much of the year. Not fun laying out on those types of surfaces, much more fun being outside.
Deep hawk, they've got McCardle at midfield, and she uses her height to her advantage.
She used her height. She also read the disc perfectly. A great adjustment.
Emily Buckner over the middle of the field to Snyder, the junior. Right on the doorstep. Buckner again, being forced to the forehand. It's a long throw to the corner. Jump disc, Carleton's got it. Marlena Hartman-Filson for the score.
Tremendous vision from the handler. Noticing that Oregon's defenders were all fronting the Carleton cutters in the end zone. Assuming that there's not anywhere to go deep, but by putting it to space in the back corner, perfectly located, realizing that Carleton had the mismatch with Marlena Hartman-Filson's height. It's a great catch, but an even better throw. Not much the 5'3" Kimber Coles could do. She got up there, but she's not going to out-jump Marlena Hartman-Filson.
Already Carleton 3 for 3 in the red zone. And a timeout taken by Oregon, down by 2. What made that flick perhaps even more difficult is that it was going into the wind.
It hung up there, gave Marlena Hartman Filson time, and Lou Burris trying to keep his team calm. You know, this is not a 7-game series. It's whoever plays better in this one particular game on Monday afternoon.
We mentioned earlier the spirit of the game, how this sport is officiated. There are 4 observers here, but they don't make a ruling on every play.
Yeah, there's a big difference between an observer and a referee. And, you know, and referees, often the players try to fool them. That's part of the sport. In soccer, the flopping; in basketball; in football, trying to draw pass interference. In ultimate, it's presumed that no one will intentionally violate the rules. It's said to be a non-contact sport, but that's just not true. There's quite a bit of contact. It can be very physical at times. But the observers will solve and resolve disputes, but usually the players can mediate it themselves, and there's great respect from one team to another, not just because of the other team's abilities, but because of the style and the way they play the game.
A look at our observers here. And to go to an observer, it doesn't have to be both players. They'll try and decide what the call is first, and then if they want to, they can get the call, which is the ultimate final call.
If and when there's a foul, the person who the foul was called on can contest it. If they disagree, they cannot contest it. If they agree that it was a foul, or they can go to the observer. Don't worry,
the disc at midfield.
The observers will have something to do by the time this game's over, I can guarantee it. That's a good matchup, the 2 number 8s, Young and McCardle.
Darch looking end zone. She's got 3 options. Back of the end zone. And Fugue out of the timeout comes back with an answer. Darch going deep and connecting with Alex Odie.
Sophie Darch's favorite time to throw, especially for the end zone, is when she can catch the little dump to the handler. Parallel throw, stepping into it. That's an easy flick for someone who can throw as confidently as Darch. She had a bunch of targets. She gave a bunch of them chances. And it was Alex Odie, the sophomore from Boise, coming down with it. Five or 6 yards to spare near the back of the end zone. You only need to have 1 foot in bounds. It's the first point of contact that lands in that determines whether you're in or out.
But unlike in soccer, the line is out.
Just had a look at the Oregon men's team. Callahan Award winner Dylan Freechild and the rest of Ego. They have to be disappointed by their semifinal loss to Pittsburgh, but they're still out here supporting the women's team. Those 2 teams are very, very close. The day this tournament began, the men's team, Ego, everybody on the team has a number buddy on Fugue, and one number buddy gave a gift to another. Great way to create camaraderie between the 2 teams, which really are 2 families, which really is 1 family.
Hartman Filson, sideline, looked like she came down out of bounds. And immediately checked back in by Fugue to the other side. Schaffner going long, and a little bit too long there to the far corner of the end zone, looking for Adrian Bovey.
That was an example of a thrower rushing just a little bit. She didn't really look upfield to survey before she released. She would have gotten away with it if it had a little more float. But it is windy out there, and this is a difficult day to throw. The disc a little damp. Not drizzling at the moment, but the field is wet.
Hartman Filson waiting for the huck to come back down. She toes the sideline with a one-handed grab.
Looks like foul called, no contest. Very close. Did she come down in? Mike, if you have 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and you catch it flat-footed, that's out of bounds. That's called a straddle, and that's not a catch.
Taylor Want forced backhand. She wants to score, and it hangs up A layout, but no score for Carleton. Just inches away from Brianna Rick.
Oh, the wet field. It's a great day to lay out. So close.
To the end zone for Oregon. Molly Lanning watches it float out of the side. We've seen some deep chances, and again, on a few possessions here recently for Fugue, some quick hucks.
And I think their head coach, Lou Burris, is okay with it, because this is what has been successful for them all year long. One thing they haven't showed very much yet is their zone, but they're giving it the first look right here, trying to trap in the corner of the end zone. It does leave open spaces diagonally across the field. That was a ridiculous high release backhand from Carleton.
Went to Hartman-Filson to Rick. And now Snyder back to Hartman-Filson, over her head, and a D from Fugue. Quick back the other way for Syzygy.
When you play a zone defense and you get beat like that, one thing you hope for is that the other team will try to rush before your zone can reset. And that throw a little bit high.
As was that, drifting back and just falling to Kimber Coles. Well, Fugue got here with a win over Iowa. They were down 8-7 at the half. And Lou Burris said that was the best game of Sophie Darch's career. Jump disc, easy score for McCardle. Carleton up 4-2.
She makes it look so natural in the end zone. Flannery McCardle, one of the seniors on this team, has overcome injuries to fight Syzygy back to nationals. A solid throw, and just the size mismatch is something that Oregon's going to have to talk about. They're going to have to try and force her underneath. That was one of the things, talking with Lou Burris over the weekend. He was concerned about Carleton's size, anticipating a possible matchup with Syzygy in a championship game. Oregon's speed is as good as anybody, but Megan Multaney, the head coach of Carleton, a Syzygy alum from 2008, former captain of the team as well, she knows that they've got the size advantage on the deep shots.
McCardle with her second goal of the game and her 17th this weekend. In yesterday's win, a 15-11 game against Ohio State, she scored 8 times and also dished out 2 scores as well. The pull from Anna Reed. Fugue on the attack, down 4-2. Darch with the disc at the brick mark, guarded by Quintana. Lou Burris says she's coming off her best game ever, and Fugue gives it right back once again.
That was good man defense with the host stack, and the stack may have been a little bit too far away from the handler set for Oregon. Ideally, you wanted to be 15 to 20 yards away. They're about 25, 30 yards away, and because of that, Carleton was able to poach underneath a little bit against that horizontal stack. A ridiculous layout D there for Oregon's Ashley Young.
And now, forehand flick downfield, just shy of the end zone. Far side, Fugue, the score. What a D to start things off, and then Anna Almy brings it home.
Earlier in this game, Jessie Schaffner hurried after she caught it ahead of the pack. Watch how she takes her time here. The first option was to her left. It wasn't there. Then she gets the cut back to the right. A nice floaty flick to space and an easy score for the senior Anna Almy.
And of course, that whole possession starts with Ashley Young's huge D down the other end of the field.
Yeah, ridiculous hustle. Almy was a lacrosse player, played club lacrosse at Oregon for a couple years, just in her second year playing Ultimate, but a senior making an impact for Fugue.
20 seconds for hand, ladies, 20 seconds.
I think the big question for Fugue coming into this game was how would they do, because they won 15-11 yesterday against Chelsea Nancy, but there were injuries in that game to Chelsea Tuig and Jen Nowak, two of the big players for Iowa.
Yeah, Oregon, I gave Iowa a ton of credit for really raising their game in the first half, but Oregon's depth was just too much. There's Dylan Freakchild and Aaron Hahn and some of the other top players from Oregon's Ego team. Carleton coached by 3 alums, Megan Multaney, Emily Muirhead McAdam, both the class of 2008, and Logan Weiss, a great player for Carleton's cut, graduated last year.
Carleton trying to break the zone here against Fugue, and they do, getting it up the far sideline. And McCardle running deep, and he'll choose to stay short.
Nice decision to holster there. Oregon brought a second deep back. McCardle's behind the last line of defense, but Carleton's able to work it up the field underneath. Their throws are so good, they can go across the field.
It's over Snyder's head, and Fugue takes it back, looking to tie.
Most of the time they can do it successfully.
Zanazer finds Odie, looking end zone, and it's D'd away by McCardle. That was the defensive matchup at the other end. It was Almy and McCardle. Syzygy with the D.
McCardle was playing underneath, but able to recover on the over-the-top look. More of this zone defense. It's sort of a junk zone that Oregon uses to try to confuse the other team. But a throw like that can beat a zone pretty easily.
Reed snags it on the sideline. Snyder over the middle. Barton going long. McCardle with the injured knee and all hangs on. Oh my!
They call that a bookend. The D in one end zone, the score in the other. Morgan Zajan was there, tipped it, but great concentration from McCardle.
Head, shoulders, knees, toes. Where did this not touch as she fumbles it and hangs on?
She had it in the breadbasket the whole time. Just like in football, you're supposed to catch the disc with your hands, but every once in a while you need to use your body to help. McCardle with 3 goals already, and that's a big turnaround from one end zone to the other. Carleton able to capitalize after Oregon gave it away in the red zone.
18th goal of this national championship weekend for Flannery McCardle, who now comes off as the D-line is on for Syzygy. And you can see the way she walks. There's pain in that leg, but she's playing through it here. A chance to bring Carleton their first title since 2000.
Yeah, it looks like she's sort of carrying that leg behind her as she roams around the field. And she's got enough adrenaline to carry her through 10 more points, which is what it would take to clinch a championship.
Schaffner being forced home, gets it away, and finds Sophie Darch, the junior. Forehand flick, going end zone. Fugue is back within 1.
That's Oregon's game plan.
Kimber Coles pulls it in. Darch is just such a good passer.
Very confident with that flick huck. Good rotation on the disc, good air. It floats enough, but not too much. and angled around the defense to arrive right around the forehead level at the time the cutter's going to get there.
Third assist of the game for Darch. So on 75% of their scores, she has been the distributor. And for Coles, her 15th goal of the weekend.
You know, a good handler with strong hucks wants to give their cutters a chance to make plays in the air. You have trust in your cutters, you pick the right matchup, and you sort of want them to be able to go up and get it. Love the eye black. It's not even sunny today.
Part of the swag, I suppose. Carleton leading by 1, and here in the sport of ultimate, the first to 8 brings us to halftime. Reed, the first touch on the pole, as Carleton looks to navigate this zone. Hartman-Filson along the far sideline. Finks backhand, Finks flick, and dumps it back.
We talk a lot about what Flannery McCardle has done, and for good reason, but she couldn't do what she does without Marlena Hartman-Filson making the reverse cut. Usually, one of them's going in and one of them's going out, and that makes it much more difficult for Oregon to defend them both. There's a good poach from Sennheiser. That's one of her defensive strengths. Such great instinct, leaving her man to go attack the disc. She's usually the handler to lead these transition attacks as Oregon seeks a break to tie it up. No need to hurry here for Fugue.
Schaffner to Sennheiser, sitting right on the doorstep, and a quick flick gets the score.
Bailey Sennheiser was not in a rush this time. Schaffner get it to their Callahan nominee. And Sennheiser, who's been playing ultimate since the 6th grade, waited for the cut through the lane, and Molly Munson the target. You know, Bailey Sennheiser, when she was in 4th grade, made fun of her friends for playing ultimate. She said to me that at one point she made one of her friends cry because she said that ultimate wasn't a sport. And here she is on the national stage on ESPN playing ultimate, which many people are finding out one of the great sports in America today.
Evan, that's the story that we hear from so many players who rise to this level of the sport of ultimate, is that they come from other disciplines, whether it's cross country or soccer or figure skating. We've even heard this weekend. You have great athletes here on this stage.
Anna Reed for Carleton, one of their top players, was a figure skater when she was 7, 8, 9 years old. Did it through middle school, competed regionally. In the end, team sports more to her liking. She played soccer. But folks have also talked about, you know, folks who played soccer or lacrosse or basketball, there's a different culture in ultimate, and it's the culture that the players love so much too.
Well, you played. What is it about that culture?
It's an easygoing culture. Everybody's nice and friendly, and it's not win at all cost. And that's not to say that you want to win, but you can win with while you're still respecting your opponent, and that makes it so much sweeter if your opponent respects the fact that you can beat them.
Barton lays one up. McCardle's got it. That's how easy it can be sometimes for Syzygy. They can move 3/4 of the field on one throw because of McCardle's ability. Across the field, no play made there by Snyder, and it goes back to Fugue and a chance to take the lead.
One more point about the ultimate culture. It's easygoing, but it's also ridiculously intense. And how hard these teams work to get to nationals and to compete at the highest level. You know, practices almost every day, track practices, off-season workouts, film sessions, working on offense, working on defense. Teams have playbooks. It's very in-depth and complicated, much more than the average person truly believes. Great catch. That's up.
Scoring has been well distributed so far for Oregon. 5 different players have scored all 5 of their goals. Now back of the end zone, and a little bit too much there on the pass from Bailey Sennheiser. She was looking for Adrian Bovey. He's already scored once this afternoon.
Be curious to see how Oregon matches up defensively here. Their zone has created a couple turnovers, but it's also been vulnerable to that diagonal crossfield, high backhand, high flick or a hammer.
That goes down the middle. Hartman-Filson, sliding grab. She had McCardle streaking right down the middle of the field, matched up one-on-one with Morgan Zajan.
Excellent bid from Alex Odie, just a fraction of a second too late. Anna Reed doesn't have great size, but she's got a monster flick.
And it's D'd away. McCardle denied her fourth score.
Morgan Zajan gets the D. This game is just littered full of big-time matchups.
That's a good contest right there. 6 foot versus 5'10".
A lot of space down the field. Oregon being patient and turns it over. And a timeout called. Defending quick handlers is one of the toughest things in Ultimate.
Taylor Want goes right in front of Molly Munson.
A little bit of a careless throw. And just a great anticipation on that D.
So we take a look at Carleton College, coming out of the North Central region here in the sport of Ultimate. Northfield, Minnesota, student body of just over 2,000. How is it that year in and year out, Carleton finds a way for its teams to be successful?
Well, it's an Ultimate factory. Every single year, they've been great. It starts because it's a small school, everybody plays Ultimate, and they've created a Seattle to Northfield pipeline with some of the top youth players in Seattle, one of the best youth cities for Ultimate in the country. Folks go back and recruit players. The coaches send letters to the top high school players. And traditionally, while most of America may not be familiar with Carleton College, if you played Ultimate in high school and you're looking for a small liberal arts college, there's no better choice than Carleton. And you go enter a great Ultimate tradition. And once you're in it, you're the part of the family for life.
Tied at 5, Carleton takes its first time out of the half. Each team gets 2 timeouts per half. What's going on in the Syzygy huddle?
Well, they're figuring out how to capitalize on this D. And it looks like Oregon's going to come out in man-to-man defense. Snyder was cutting from the back of the stack, and they get it to their #1 handler, Reed, on the break. Quick reset to the stall count, so important, but that D right there for Drea Fontenot, she was really impressive all weekend long as a defensive specialist for Fugue.
And now Oregon wants a timeout. We are 3 goals away. Whoever reaches 8 brings us to halftime. And Oregon here, as it gets to the half, takes half of the field, takes its second timeout here in the first half. So we're playing. You can see the goalposts, football field, but it's not exactly the same size.
Yeah, it's about 13, 14 yards more narrow than a natural football field. The playing field proper, 70 yards. That's from the front of the end zone to the other, and the end zone's 20 deep. A lot of space to hit open targets in the end zone. One of the best things to do in Ultimate is send one of your fastest receivers deep. You put the disc to space, allow it to float, and let them use their athleticism to get it.
If you're new to watching the sport of Ultimate, you just mentioned the culture. A lot of people on hand here today, family, friends, but also the other teams from the other schools, even if they've been eliminated, sticking around to watch their friends and at sometimes opponents play here in the championship match.
And another part of the culture is the creative sideline cheers. Every school has probably 8 to 10 cheers in their arsenal. They're entertaining, they're energizing, and each team does something different.
So out of the timeout, man-to-man defense by Syzygy here in a 5-5 game.
Oh, great bid. May have been a foul called on the throw, but
or perhaps a pick as well.
Out of the timeout, you turn it over on the first throw after a timeout. That is about as deflating a thing as can happen. And for Syzygy to give up her body and snare that disc. And you can see the pick was called on that upfield cut. They do get this reset of the stall count. Looks like a foul called on the mark.
Ricardo there, marking Morgan Zajan. They've been D'ing one another this entire game. Syzygy floats one up, and the score. 3-0 run to take the lead. Fugue on top, 6-5.
A year ago at this time, Bailey Syzygy was making her return from an ACL injury. Happened September of last year. She made it back to be a contributor at Nationals, and at that point she sprained her knee. On Saturday, she said she's as healthy as she's been in her entire career right now. And Fontenot, a defensive threat, proven to be an offensive target too.
How about this distribution for Oregon? They've scored 6 times, and as Fontenot gets her first goal, 6 different players have brought the disc down in the end zone.
Yeah, it's impressive, but it's not really that surprising. That's been Oregon's ethos all season long. And you ask Lou Burris, who's your top player? And he's like, I don't like that question as a coach because we really rely on so many different people to fill roles, and that's what makes them great.
Well, a lot of times you'll ask that of a coach, and they won't answer because they don't want to pick a favorite or anything like that, but when he says it, it's the truth.
He was a pretty good player back in his day. I asked him for his self-scouting report, and he was reluctant, but he said he was a nasty defender, both in his play and his temperament. He said Syzygy has similar play, but very different temperament. She is an intense player, but plays the game with a smile on her face pretty much all the time.
Darch with a lofty pull, sends it back to cut. Snyder, backhand to the near sideline. We've got a foul, so they'll reset here along the near sideline. Spartan gets it in.
An important possession for Carleton here. Oregon has sort of taken control of this game after Carleton had the initial surge. The Carleton Syzygy, 3 heavenly bodies in motion, looking for perfect alignment. It's a great term for ultimate because your spacing and exactly where you want to position players is so vital. This would be a huge break for Oregon if they could finish it off. Going for the big shot.
Looking end zone. Almy, one-handed grab. She toes the sideline and scores.
Oregon's done a great job of taking its time on these transition plays. They're still looking to work quickly, but the throwers are looking downfield, sizing up the throw, and that's a perfect flick from Schaffner. Tiptoeing the sideline, Anna Almy. Believe that's the 4th straight goal for Oregon since it was 5-3 Carleton.
And Fugue is 4 for 4 in the red zone from the brick mark to the goal line.
first-time viewer who's watching Ultimate, to help the game make the most sense is to see it as a big game of keep away. You're trying to keep the disc away from the other team, catch it in the end zone for a goal. If for any reason you mess up, the other team gets to try going the other direction. That basic framework is our sport, and then surrounding it, of course, is all the strategy and tactics.
At the high levels, it's not quite that simple, but it's a really good simplistic way to look at it. And there are small games you can play. A game called Hot Box, a 3-on-3 game, which is basically keep away. There's a small 1 yard by 1 yard box in the middle of a gigantic circle, and you're trying to keep it away as long as you can and center it in the middle, and that's how you score. You know, sometimes you go to practice, you only get 5, 6, 7 guys. You play hot box, it's great workout. You're going back and forth, running side to side. You have fun, and you can work on your short, tight throws too.
How complex can offenses and defenses get?
Much more than you'd think. Because you have 7 different moving pieces, and they can all move in any direction at any time. The throw can move in any direction at any time. And the cool thing about throwing a Frisbee is you can angle it in so many different ways. You can throw a bullet, you can throw a floater, you can throw a hammer. There are all sorts of upside down throws, level throws, and they're really an endless amount of possibilities for both the offense and the defense. And I don't think we've seen the end of the evolution of ultimate strategy. You know, I learned the 3-man cup, and then you see the 4-man cup. Maybe at some point you'll see a 5-man cup.
Well, it'll be a dangerous move on defense, bringing 5 players right around the disc, but who knows?
On a really windy day, you might want to challenge them to throw it upfield. And sometimes tournaments, especially near coastal destinations in the Bay Area, at Easterns and Wilmington, you can play in 35, 40-mile-an-hour winds, and you're playing with a 175-gram piece of plastic, which really is at the wind's mercy.
Bovee took that away for Fugue, and now a chance for Oregon to send this contest to halftime. 1st to 8 makes it half.
There are some ultimate strategy staples, though. The dump swing, the fake deep cut in. It's a game of quick cutting, changing direction. Being able to pivot to break a strong mark. And then the ability to read the disc when it's up in the air, to be able to catch it at the apex of your jump where nobody else can rise.
Schaffner has distributed so well. She laid out for that, but it's D'd away by McCardle. So after a pick, Oregon had a chance to reset, and it's back to Syzygy, down 7-5.
Oh, Snyder stopped running. It was a nice idea by Anna Reed. Julia Snyder had a step on her defender, but just miscommunication there.
Another part of the rules, though, is if you do take a deep chance like that, the other team takes the disc where it lands on the field and not from where it was thrown.
Functions a little bit like a punt, but certainly you can advance the field 70 yards with a huck pretty quickly. Oh, just a bad turf throw right there from A.D. Bovee. She's a junior, but in her first year playing ultimate. South Eugene product. Bunch of local girls playing for Fugue.
Going far as sideline, Childs Walker, just over midfield for Syzygy.
Comparison, there are only 2 or 3 Minnesota natives on Syzygy. A lot of ultimate transplants.
Jump disc, McCardle had a little contact, but it went too far. Last couple of possessions now. You think Syzygy has pressed on those 2 deep throws.
Yeah, both teams have forced throws occasionally. Schaffner with a big backhand, but the defense was there.
Now just trading turns as they go back and forth.
And this is really a gigantic point. 8-5 at the half would be huge. McCardle, can she run it down? Not quite.
That was Reed sending it deep. McCardle again playing with that injured knee and couldn't get herself under that one.
Yeah, she misread it ever so slightly by slowing down, but it didn't come down to a reachable level quickly enough. And at that point, she didn't have a shot.
Schaffner back to Darch and a huck. And we'll still wait to see if Fugue will be the ones to send us to half.
If nothing else, this is entertaining ultimate. Deep shots left, deep shots right. The kind of back and forth point that when this thing's all said and done, you'll look back to. Remember that long point at 7-5? That was a turning point.
That falls down just out of the reach of Quintana. Darch takes it over to Schaffner. They force her home, and her flick is too far for Szyzygy.
And at the end of a long back and forth point like this, you see more mistakes. They continue to just throw it into the ground. Players are getting fatigued. They don't want to. They need to take their time a little bit.
Szyzygy, flick, end zone. Oh, the connection. Didn't look like that's where she intended it to go, but it gives Oregon the 8-5 lead.
Oregon got lucky there. Look at the.
She had Odie down the sideline and instead found Kimber Coles.
I think she was looking for Odie, and it wasn't a very good throw. Odie had no chance, just out of the reach of Lucia Childs-Walker, who had position. And a tremendous close to the half for Oregon, a 5-zip rally for Fugue to take half, 8-5.
Kimber Coles scores her second goal of the game and now has 16 this weekend. 8-5 at number 1 Oregon. We are halfway to crowning a women's champion here in the women's final this weekend in Madison, Wisconsin.
Mail time, everyone. Vero, Kip, PCAP, Carl. Ooh, another one for Vero. Carl again, Sophia, Exton, Ningo, and one for accounting.
Losing your touch, Ben.
To a critic who might say that ultimate's not a real sport, I would challenge them, come out to nationals, watch one game, watch what these athletes can do, watch their intensity, watch their dedication, watch the focus, watch their performance. If they do that and they still say it's not a real sport, I'll respect that, but I've never had anybody come and watch nationals and still think it wasn't a real sport.
Ultimate's growing very quickly. We've been focusing on youth programs for the last 5 to 10 years now, and pushing it down into high schools. It's been a college-heavy sport for a long time. Kids learn how to play in college, but we've really been pushing coaching and getting kids to play in high school, and then pushing it down further to middle school. Doing a lot of outreach in PE classes, educating PE teachers about how to teach the sport, and those kids come out of those classes loving it, looking for opportunities to play, and that's what we're trying to provide.
The role of USA Ultimate for the sport of Ultimate is as the governing body. What that means is USA Ultimate does things from providing the guidelines and rules for competition, to running our championship events, to providing opportunities and programs for players of all levels, as well as coaches, family, fans, and friends of Ultimate players to get involved.
We are back in Madison, Wisconsin, halftime here of the women's final, and the lead right now rests in the hands of Oregon, an 8-5 advantage for Fugue over Syzygy of Carleton. Mike Cousins, Evan Lepler, a two-time captain of the Ultimate team at Wake Forest, and we're glad to have you with us. Well, Syzygy jumps out to a quick advantage there to start the half, but after that, it was all Oregon.
Oregon rushed a little bit early in that half. Sophie Darch made a couple mistakes. Jessie Schaffner made a couple mistakes, and then they sort of settled in. And meanwhile, Carleton was running the Oregon offense early on, connecting on the deep shot. They were able to work underneath, a few defensive adjustments, force some unforced turnovers. That zone defense didn't have any Ds, but it forced some turnovers with some aggressive throws that perhaps Carleton wasn't quite as comfortable with as their underneath game, and a really impressive run to finish the half. That marathon point, back and forth, and sometimes it's better to be lucky and good. That last point of the half wasn't Bailey Zahniser's best throw, she'll tell you that, but it fell down in Fugue's hands for the score.
Kimber Coles scored her second goal there, making that grab. It just kind of fell down to her. The distribution, though, here for Oregon has been really good. Their first 5 goals were scored by 5 different players, and that's the way they expect to play.
Well, they have veterans, they have freshmen, they have sophomores, really up and down the roster, all 4 years, all 5 years of College Ultimate represented. And Lou Burris has stressed the importance in a tournament like Nationals, when you're playing elite level competition all weekend long, to have the depth, to be confident in 2.5, perhaps even 3 lines of players, not just 7, not 14, sometimes as many as 21 different players that you have confidence in that can fill different roles. Obviously, they want the disc in Sophie Darch's hands and Bailey Zahniser's hands as much as possible, but they're confident in everybody, and that shows by the scoring differential.
For Syzygy, down by 3 here at the half. They're looking for their first title since 2000. Flannery McCardle is such an important part of their offense. She stands at 6 feet tall, positions herself well, gets under discs. She's playing with an injured knee right now. How do you think she fared in the first half?
I think she fared pretty well considering the injured knee. It can't be easy. She's definitely not 100% full speed. She had some near misses on discs in the end zone, a couple near misses on defense as well. Even with a knee injury, she's probably still Carleton's best D threat, and she's shown an ability to handle the pain, but it's not easy. And how she feels in the second half might be a determining factor as to whether or not Carleton can come back.
Over the course of this weekend, wind has been such a big factor. Today, down on the field, not quite as big for these two teams, but it did get a little bit sloppy there at the end with a lot of turnovers on that last point. Why do you think that was the case?
Well, over the course of a long point, you're not allowed to sub unless there's an injury. Even if there's a timeout, you can't sub. So at that point, you're just getting tired, and your throws aren't as crisp, and you tend to rush a little bit. The team that is the most patient and the most calm is going to execute the best, and that's who's going to be the winner.
Fugue, Oregon with the lead here, 8-5 at the half as they look for their second title in the last 4 years. When we come back, we take a look at the highlights from the first half of play in Madison.
This is the microwave shot. This is the microwave shot. This is the microwave shot. This is the microwave shot.
Fugue in the lead here in Madison, Wisconsin, in front of a great crowd on a little bit of a chilly Memorial Day Monday, and Oregon jumped out to their advantage after the scoring started with Carleton College and their 6-foot star, Flannery McCardle.
Well, both of these teams are super balanced, but both have intended targets that they want to find. McCardle, a defensive presence and an offensive presence for Syzygy. She's been that all season long. That's a beautiful backhand throw to space. And when you have a target like McCardle, it's like hitting Jerry Rice down the field. You're always confident that the receiver is going to come down with a throw. She's struggling, sort of dragging that left leg a little bit. She will try to tough it out. Oregon all season long has been super balanced, but the #1 flick threat is number 10, Sophie Darch. She's got the low release, she's got the high release, putting it to space. Lou Burris wants his team to get it and go, and Darch is the key that lights the fire.
And they've distributed their scoring so well. We've seen Bethany Kaler, we've seen Drea Fontenot, we've seen Anna Almy, and they close it out on a 5-0 run. Momentum and energy can be such a big part of this game of Ultimate, and Fugue seems to have all of it right now, starting the second half.
It's really amazing, because after the first 5 points of the game, I thought Carleton was going to win. I thought Oregon wasn't really in a groove, They were forcing things a little too much, and Carleton looked so tight, similar to how the UCF men just look so confident and were connecting on everything. But it's a long game. Oregon has turned it around. Carleton has been flummoxed. The question is, will there be another twist in this journey, or will Oregon just take a straight line path to the championship?
Oregon in 2009 finished third, won it all in 2010. Last year finished third as well, looking to add another title to their collection. Both teams set for the opening pull here in the second half.
This will be Bailey Zahnizer to let it go. What's next after this for her? Club Ultimate and perhaps a teaching job. She's already had a job interview to be a middle school art teacher back in her home of Seattle.
Anna Reed starts the possession for Carleton. Up against man-to-man defense by Fugue. Far side, Snyder pulls that in. Quickly the backhand upfield to Quintana. Barton looking downfield. It's a one-on-one into the end zone. So they try and find their big star, Ricardo, to the far sideline. This is Hartman-Filson in the end zone, and she gets it. So Carleton starts off on the right foot in the second half.
A ridiculous throw from the freshman. We saw Kirsty Barton deliver a number of fantastic flicks yesterday. This time the stall count rising, and she makes the veteran play, sending it to space, giving one of her playmakers a chance to go up and get it. And Marlena Hartman-Filson, perhaps the healthiest reliable deep for Carleton right now, makes the play, a much needed answer for Carleton to start the half.
So she gets the score, and it's back now to a little bit closer for Carleton and to cut into some of that momentum for Oregon.
All weekend long, been so impressed with Kirsty Barton's wherewithal. Now, she has fantastic field sense, awareness. She makes the smart throw as a freshman, and her ability to make that throw, whether it's a break flick or a backhand, I'm sure she's got the hammer too. She's someone that a couple of years down the road could get some recognition as one of the candidates for National Player of the Year if she's this good as a freshman already.
Fugue with darts looking over the middle of a cup. She's got the hammer to the near side. A beautiful throw. Wide open sideline. Zajan guarded by Hartman-Filson. And a stoppage.
Well, one of the first times today we've seen the zone look for Carleton. Did not work out. They've gone fire, going back into man-to-man.
Zajan and Hartman-Filson try to work out the call. And they go to the observer, and he calls a foul.
And he confirmed there was a foul on the mark. So the stall count comes in on 0.
Quick toss, end zone of the score for Fugue. They go right to Sophie Darch.
Basic goal line offense here for Fugue. Usually it's Darch to Zajan, but this time it's the opposite. Nice pivot, stepping across the body, the low release. Developing those throws and those overall disc skills. One of the things that Lou Burris stresses and instills in his players, and it's one of the reasons that Oregon is now 6 points away from their second title in 4 years.
6 is their magic number right now. They are 6 for 6 in their last 6 red zone possessions. Getting set for the pull, and we look back to that last foul that set up the score. This is where the two players can't work out their difference on the call, and they go to the observer.
And the observer wants each player's quick case. Okay, give me 10 seconds. What happened? What did you see? What did you feel? They're usually conflicting answers, and he'll explain what he saw. That's the final determination, and that's what the call becomes.
And that's the goal for the observers too, is to try and resolve those disputes within 10 to 15 seconds to keep the play at a high level and the pace moving quickly. Reed flick looking for Snyder, one-handed grab. And that's an easy runaway for Flannery McCardle. Carleton back within 2.
Bailey Zahnizer for Oregon did everything she could. One of the top defensive players in the country. She took a good angle to this D, but Snyder's reach was too much. And once Snyder had it, the easy flick to the end zone, and a big score for Carleton to answer.
Now goal number 4 of the game for McCardle. Yesterday, as they beat Ohio State 15-11, she scored 8 times. She's now got 4 of their 7 scores.
And Snyder, one of the key threats. She can go deep, she can catch the disc in the air, but she's also a reliable quarterback around the goal line. An excellent decision. Julia Snyder started playing Ultimate on the playground in 4th grade, joined her first team in 6th grade. And the amount of experience that she's gained competing internationally as well. To be the best, you want to play against the best. And she's done that all through her life.
Barton to pull, that rolls all the way to the end zone. Not a brick. Fugue will have to play it deep.
4-man cup in the end zone, trapped on the sideline, crossfield hammer, and a turnover.
Strong defense there. Momentum shifting. Here comes Reed to play it back in.
Important red zone opportunity here. Anna Reed, the senior, picks up the disc. Looks like just a dispute on positioning in the end zone.
All right, so you're going to go foul contest, or you're going to come to me?
Here's the pull. It falls, and the wind takes it, and it rolls all the way to the end zone. And you're not allowed to run it up to the front of the end zone there. You play the disc as it lies if it lands in bounds. And the big thing was Carleton was able to set the cup, force the turn, and capitalize.
So they go to McCardle for her 5th score of the game. She resolved her dispute with Morgan Zajan, and right off the restart, she gets the goal.
If you can start with your 4-man cup on the opponent in the end zone, you got a pretty good chance to score, especially on a blustery day like this. And a strong backhand. Nice low release, great mechanics on that throw, the follow through, fantastic. And just an easy catch for McCardle. The consistency of throws and catches, one of the hallmarks of both of these teams. Carleton's looking for another big pull. It's going to be the freshman Barton. She played in Junior Worlds in 2012. She's got a long, promising career ahead of her. That's a huge backhand. About 65 yards on the fly.
Over the middle, looking for Zajan. Back toward the goal line. She makes the catch, and a quick turn going to the end zone. Odie pulls it in for Oregon.
Carleton comes back with its four-man cup, but the difference here, out of the end zone and the middle of the field. The first throw was the one that did it. The high flick over the cup to Syzygy in space. Syzygy calmly finds the handler, and Bethany Kaler does the rest, hitting a wide open Alex Odie in the end zone.
Odie wears the gloves. Some players don't. For the players that do, what type of an advantage did they feel that it gives them?
I don't know if it's an advantage as much as it's just a mental thing. Some players get used to wearing gloves. I was never someone who liked throwing wearing a glove on my right hand. So I tried it a couple times and just felt comfortable holding the disc straight in the hand. You know, but some handlers are very comfortable throwing with gloves. So it's really just a personal preference. And, you know, I'm partial to without, but obviously some great players, much better than me. It works for them.
10-8 Oregon in front. Fugue, a national champion just a few years ago in 2010.
And sometimes you're playing on cold days. If you're in Northfield, Minnesota, you want to wear gloves and you try to do it, but at the same time, it's not a natural throw. If you're trying to send it 75 yards with a flick and you're not getting that feel finger as the disc releases from your hand.
To directly quote Megan Molteni, the head coach of Carleton, when she talked to us yesterday, she said this type of weather, quote, "This is our jam." Because their outdoor season really doesn't get underway until very late in the year. When we think of spring, it's not spring in Northfield, Minnesota just yet.
You can catch frostbite just walking a class at Carleton.
That's turfed down to the right hand by Munson.
Looked like it slipped out of her hands. Carleton going big. Nice box out, but it didn't hang up.
Snyder quickly D's up as Fugue moves back the other way and Coles gets the offense started. Schaffner has thrown deep quite a bit today. What a layout there over the middle of the field. Nice grab there by Kaler. Just shy of the goal line. Sonnheiser looking for the assist. Kaler thinking flick, goes high backhand, but a foul on the play.
A pick was called right before the release. Or not. They're going to count that, saying it wasn't involved in the play.
Yeah, it's okay,
Didn't look like any pick was there, just a good backhand break. The call denied Sonnheiser a chance to celebrate. That's really all it did.
But it does bring Oregon to within 4 goals of a national title.
Beg your pardon, Molly Munson. One of the Oregon assistants, Katie Weatherhead, Danielle Hirsch, alums that help out Lou Burris. The captains of Fugue, Sonnheiser, Lily Hurd, and Sophie Darch. They've been to nationals 6 straight years. There are 4 girls on the 2013 team that won the national title in 2010. Morgan Zajan, Bailey Sonnheiser, Kimber Coles, and Rachel Karpelowitz.
Darch lets it fly on the pull. Oregon has been consistently strong, converting 8 of its last 9 trips to the red zone. Thus the 3-score lead. Going deep, Snyder tracking the disc in the air, and a little bit too strong out of her right hand's grasp.
Alex Odie didn't deflect the disc, but she should get credit for that D. Snyder felt the footsteps, adjust her route, There's a big turnover near the goal line. A careless turnover for Ashley Young in Oregon.
Wide of Darch. And Reed plays it back in, D'd up by Schaffner.
Another giveaway.
Last two passes for Darch. Been questionable there. She gets the foot inbounds, an athletic play.
Strong flick from Schaffner. She's had some really good throws. Just 19 years old, a sophomore, struggled early. She's been a difference maker late.
Odie went to Young, who goes end zone for the Fugue score for Morgan Zajan. Quick movement once again. Those fast strikes put Fugue to a 4-score lead.
Biggest advantage of the game so far for Fugue. Able to capitalize after a back and forth point. Some careless turnovers each way, but Zajan, a nice cut to the front corner of the end zone. A textbook cut right here from Zajan, just out racing your defender to the front corner. Throw it to space, catch it on the sideline for the score. Carleton had a 5-3 lead in this game. Since then, a 9-3 run for Fugue, and they've done it with balance.
9 out of the last 9 trips to the red zone, Oregon has converted, so they are 9 of 10. And for Syzygy, they just haven't been able to make a stop when they need it.
And perhaps more importantly, they haven't capitalized on the few stops that they've gotten. Carleton has turned it over their last few trips in the red zone. That last throw, crossfield flick that floated, and Alex Odie got the D for Oregon. Carleton calling a timeout, realizing that this is a must-score O-point right here. Otherwise, Oregon's bringing the title back to Eugene more than likely.
There's no clock to determine the end of the game in Ultimate, but Megan Molteni must feel that proverbial clock ticking here on this game because they need a real big surge to come back.
No question about it. I mean, Oregon 3 points away. Great crowd despite the cool conditions on Memorial Day weekend. A great tribute to the sport and the job that USA Ultimate and the city of Madison have done putting this tournament on. Couple different locations. The pool play and quarterfinal games were held at other fields, a huge complex. It's really hard to watch 12, 13 games going on at once, but it's a lot of fun.
A lot of walking around. That's why you got to bring a good pair of shoes to go and watch pool play.
Sure. And next year, I'm going to remember sunscreen on day one.
It'll turn into a tan eventually, I promise. 12-8, Oregon in the lead in the pull. Sends it back to Carleton. Syzygy looking for a score. Huck over the middle of the field. Jump disc taken away by Fugue. Sennheiser with the snare.
Stall count was rising. Wasn't a great throw. Gave Snyder a chance to make a play, but Sennheiser made the better one. They love having the disc in her hands after a turnover. Good break to Darch. They got the dump, can finish it with a swing, and now Oregon has the whole field to work with.
Schaffner, forehand, far sideline. Coles, a sliding grab, right to the doorstep. Contact on the catch, they play on. And Kaler puts it in. Schaffner just across the goal line. Oregon by 5.
Great versatility from the Oregon offense. In that red zone situation, every cut had come from the stack until Schaffner had the up line cut. Burning Anna Reed to the front of the end zone. Schaffner gets the finish, and Oregon clicking on all cylinders right now as an offense. That was beautiful how they worked it up the field. They were not easy throws, but they were crisp and confident, and they were right on the money.
To be able to play at this high a level at this point in the weekend, what does it take from these teams after pool play and semis and quarters and all that action? You're still going here on Monday.
I mean, it started 8 months ago, perhaps even further back. The conditioning, to be prepared, to have endurance for a tournament where you're facing elite level competition for 4 days in a row. You know, most college tournaments are 2-day tournaments. You'll play 4, perhaps 5 pool play games on a Saturday. You enter bracket play on a Sunday, maybe 1, 2, or 3 games. Every once in a while you'll play 8 games in a weekend. But Nationals, a 4-day grind against the best teams in the land. And an international tournament, 2 Canadian schools in the women's field, British Columbia and Ottawa. British Columbia, the only school to beat Oregon this year. And Fugue got its revenge in the quarterfinals, winning 15-4. Seeming to be pulling away here in the finals.
And Fugue is now within 1 goal of a championship on the score from Kimber Coles.
They're celebrating the score, but it looks like there was a call. The observers have their hands up. It looks like there was a pick call right at the beginning of that highlight on the right of your screen. Julia Snyder appeared to get picked.
Okay, you throw it here so it stays here?
There's a pick in the air, on the huck, to the huck. No, it stays here.
The observer's on top of it.
So they said the pick came on the huck. That's the long field throw. And so it's Anna Almy who has the disc.
The pick wasn't involved in the play, so they allow the huck to continue. But you can't have a second throw after that continuation. But on the restart, Oregon gets the same result anyway.
Now there was nobody there for the D. Tough positioning for Syzygy after the pick. And so Oregon now on the score within 1 goal of the title. Morgan Zajan, all she had to do was walk into the end zone and make the easy catch.
This has been the story for Oregon all tournament long. They were challenged by Minnesota in the first half. They were challenged by Iowa in the first half. Carleton provided a challenge in the first half too. But Fugue has been a ridiculously strong second half team. And again today, taking it to Carleton in a way that no team has done really all season. Especially when Carleton's been at or near full strength.
Oregon has been perfect in the red zone here in this half. Taking half and never letting go of the throttle. And it's Lou Burris, the head coach for Oregon, even with the lead, spending more time on the field, doing some last-minute coaching than Megan Molteni for Carleton. Barton and Reed play catch with a disc and a long huck. They want Quintana downfield. Deed by Almy. 2-on-1 for Fugue, and that falls short.
Well, really a gorgeous huck. Quintana had a chance, but sandwiched by a pair of defenders. When the defenders are there, it changes the way you're reading the disc, because you're not only focused on the angle that it's falling, but you're also thinking about how am I going to box out these other defenders to create the right angle I need to either go up for it or to be able to reach it when it gets down to a spot where you can reach it on the ground. Perhaps a foul called on the throw.
So they are going to send the disc back. The crowd loves the catch made by the observer.
And then she turfed the throw. There's a great tradition of heckling in Ultimate. Heckling is not taunting. It's almost always good-natured and done in a friendly way. And if you can't laugh at yourself, who can you laugh at?
I've always got you, right?
You always have me to laugh at.
Carleton needs a score, a near turnover before the foul. McCardle wants to get it away. They've looked for her to score most of their points today. She overshoots Reed, and it's back to Fugue, a chance for a win. Layout, no grab by Sonnheiser, so back-to-back turns, and it's Syzygy once again with the disc, pressed back deep.
She didn't come down with that disc, but that was a heck of a horizontal layout for Sonnheiser.
Alme the interception. Schaffner looking for the game-winning score. She goes end zone, and Fugue gets the score and gets the title. Oregon, the champion in Women's College Ultimate in 2013.
A dominant second half performance for the girls from Eugene. And Ashley Young squeezes the game-winning score. For the second time in 4 years, Oregon gets to celebrate at the zenith of the Women's College Ultimate World. Schaffner, a nice floaty flick. Carleton with a layout bid, leaving everything on the line. Great sportsmanship. Before she celebrates a title, she appreciates the effort, giving up the body, down 14-8. She could have gave up, she did not. Great game, Syzygy comes from the huddle. Such mutual respect and admiration. Many of these girls, teammates with the national team, growing up on the youth scene together. And these two programs will be back in the Final Four, if not the championship game again in future years. Congratulations to Oregon head coach Lou Burris. The Carleton alum celebrates a title against his alma mater, and he wins it for Oregon.
So comfortable here late in the postseason for Oregon. 2009, they finished third. The same result in 2012, notching their second title in the last 4 years, having pulled it in 2010. And for Carleton, so close, trying to get their first title since 2000. Dominant, they were the champions of that North Central region, but just not enough here in this game. They trailed at half and trailed for the duration of the second half as well.
Yeah, Carleton ran out of gas, and Oregon finishes one of the great seasons ever in the Women's College Ultimate universe. Losing only one game to a British Columbia team that they beat later that tournament, that they beat 15-4 at Nationals. This Oregon team will enter the pantheon of great Women's College Ultimate teams. We'll be talking about this one-loss Fugue season for decades.
All right, 15-8, Oregon wins it. And right now, let's take time to check out the U.S. Sports Camp, Nike Sports Camp's play of the game.
One of the turning points. Carleton came down with his own, the high flick to get it down to Zajan. Quick reset to Kaler, and then to the end zone, Alex Odie. These names very familiar by this point. They're so deep, and they're able to go in any direction with the disc. A worthy play of the game, and Oregon ran away from Carleton from there.
So a 7-goal difference as Oregon takes the title. We're going to be joined by Fugue's head coach Lou Burris, the Carleton alum who gets the win for Fugue. And Coach Burris is with us now down on the field. Coach, first of all, congratulations. I know that's a very emotional scene for you and your team.
Thank you. It feels wonderful.
You got out to an early lead there, took half, scoring was so well distributed. Was that part of your game plan today?
I think our real game plan was to bring just a ton of defensive pressure throughout, and then feed off of the defensive pressure to generate offense for us.
You go through the entire season with just one loss. You go through nationals with a few close first halves, but really no close games down the stretch. Where does this team compare to some of the best women's college ultimate teams that you've seen?
Oh, it'd certainly be up there in that conversation of all-time greats, but that's just that's just a kind of hypothetical conversation. But it certainly is up there among the very top, because I think that this year was one of those years where lots of teams were kind of reaching the peak of programs. Lots of teams with lots of seniors, and it was a really tough, very deep field. So it feels great to have won under those circumstances.
Lou, you mentioned yesterday in your win over Iowa that Sophie Darch played what you said was the game of her career. How did you feel that she helped your team today?
Great. I mean, we early on, obviously, we had a lot of troubles. We just were really, really unsettled, and we find calm through defensive intensity, and we found that defensive intensity. And once we had that, then offensively, Sophie's able to help lead the way for us and distribute the disc.
It's hard to believe, Coach, but you were down 5-3 in this game. What was the message in those huddles? Was it basically to be patient? Because you had some opportunities, and it looks like some throws were rushed early in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a point. There was a point at about 5-3. There was a 3 or 4 turnover side point, and at that point, they did score that, but I started feeling pretty good about our chances. I was uncomfortable in the early going when we were turning and they were scoring with ease. That was making me nervous. But once it turned into a dogfight, I knew we'd be okay.
Well, Coach Lou Burris, congratulations. Before we let you go, where'd you get the green pants? We love them.
One of the moms works for Nordstrom's.
They're fantastic. Congratulations on the national title.
Thank you very much.
Lou Burris, the Carleton alum. That just shows that's a community there with the program. The mom of one of the players gets the green pants, and they match. We're fans.
That was the best question you've asked anyone all weekend long.
Well, stay with us. There's more ultimate action to be seen here from Madison, Wisconsin. The women's final is in the books, but later on today it'll be En Sabinor of Pittsburgh defending its title against a first-time finalist in Central Florida.
Super excited to see how these two teams match up. Both are confident, both are intense. Pittsburgh won it all last year. Central Florida has played with an attitude about themselves unlike anyone else we've seen this year. They're trying to join Oregon in the winner's circle.
Second title in the last 4 years for the Fugue of Oregon, finishing off a season with just one loss this year. So Oregon over Carleton by a score of 15-8. To watch this entire game on replay, as well as other games on our family of ESPN networks, log on to Watch ESPN or download the Watch ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN.